Gordon Claude Wateridge was employed to act as a surrogate father for vulnerable children in the early 1970s at the former children's home Hope de la Garenne. Guilty of 8 acts of indecent assault on 3 victims in the early 1970s. Guilty of assaulting a boy trying to rescue his sister from being groped. Not guilty on 12 other charges against 2 other victims. Wateridge remains on bail today, but Crown Advocate Stephen Baker said he would be looking for a prison sentence. This is what Senior Investigating Officer Mick Gradwell had to say about the verdict earlier today.
Gordon Wateridge, a house parent at Hope de la Garenne, was a sexual bully towards vulnerable young girls in his care. We hope the complainants involved in this trial have received some comfort from the decisions that's been reached by the court today. I would like to take this opportunity to thank and acknowledge all the efforts of the investigation team and the legal team and those people who've been involved in bringing this prosecution, and as well as the challenges that have faced the complainants before and during this trial. The historical abuse inquiry is continuing, and there is another case which is in the court process. I'm unable to comment further about the investigation at this time because of that. What I would like to stress, though, is that the States of Jersey Police take reports of historical abuse very seriously, and they will continue to investigate matters very thoroughly. Thank you very much.
The trial formed part of a 2-year-long investigation where child's bodies turned into coconut shells and shackles into bed springs. But after a multi-million-pound investigation, has justice been done? The trial of Gordon Claude Wateridge formed just part of the historic abuse inquiry, an investigation which is rumoured to have cost the states and the taxpayer almost £20 million. He's the 3rd person to face trial in the 2-year inquiry and the only person to be charged as a worker at the former children's home Hope de la Garenne. In June this year, 46-year-old Michael Obin pleaded guilty to offences on young boys committed while he was a teenager at the home. He was sentenced to 2 years probation and walked straight out of court after his sentence. He'd already served 1 year and 21 days at Lemoy Prison, the equivalent of a 19-month sentence in an adult prison. He claimed to have been abused by staff at the home at the time he was abusing the younger children. Early on in Gordon Wateridge's trial, the jury were told to ignore lurid reporting of the investigation because the revelations about torture chambers, shackles and child murders were simply not true. In the trial, all the witnesses' statements were weighed against when they were reported. If it was before or after the revelations by former Deputy Chief Officer Lenny Harper of systematic abuse and the discovery of what was supposed to be the partial remains of a child at the former home. In his summing up, Defence Counsel Mike Preston said,
"This is not just any trial. This is the only trial arising from that investigation into Hope de la Garenne costing the island many millions. It's a case that brings with it great emotion, but Gordon Wateridge must not be used as a scapegoat."
Also charged in relation to the inquiry is Claude James Donnelly. He faced 2 separate trials. In the first, he was found guilty of 4 charges of sexual abuse on a young girl, including 1 count of rape. In the second, to 15 offences on another young girl, including 4 counts of rape. He's to be sentenced on Friday. 71-year-old Ronald George Thorne is also facing 4 charges of inciting gross indecency on a young boy. He will make his second appearance at Magistrates' Court next week. It now lies with the Attorney General whether or not there'll be any more charges relating to the historic abuse inquiry or not. Wateridge is set to appear in court again on the 11th of September, where he'll be sentenced, or a date will be set for that sentencing. However, as we've said earlier, the Crown will be looking for a prison sentence.